Welcome back. Now let us take a break from learning so that we can now actually apply everything that we have learned in this section so far. Now we are going to take a challenge. Let's take a look. Now this is our first coding challenge in this section. In this challenge, we are going to build a football betting application. Here we see that we are building a football betting application, that is Socks Up for my American friends. So here we see that we have some data from a web service about a particular football game. So this is the data that we are having that here. This is an object with this information about the game. Here see that all the team players, one player, two, and all the players placed on array and the scored ones and the date. And now here we see that we have 7 tasks that this one is create one player array for each team. That is we have to create a variables that player 1 and then player 2. And now in each of the array we assume that the first player in the array is the goalkeeper and the other 10 players are in the field players. Now here in this example, here see that Bayern Munich, the team 1, he belongs to team 1 and we have to create a variable called GK for the goalkeeper, and then an array is called field players, and then we need to include all the remaining 10 field players also. And the next one is create an array all players containing all players of both the teams. So we are creating an array that is all players. We need to include all both the teams. And the next one, this fourth one, during the game, Bayern Munich from team 1 used 3 substitute players. This means that here we need to create one array that is a players 1 final, and then we have to contain all the original team 1 players plus Thiago, these 3 players. And the next one is take the game odds object and create one variable for each odd called team 1 draw and team 2. And the next one is write a function print goals that receives an arbitrary number of player names, not an array, and prints each of them to the console along with the number of goals that were scored in total number of players names passed in. And then the final one, the team with the lower odds is more likely to win. And now our task is to print to the console that which team is more likely to win without using an if or else statement or the ternary operator. Now let's start by writing the code. Open the live server so that we can see what we are writing. Now let's see the first step. Here we have that create one player array for each team. So let's write here, giving this is the first step. Now here write const. We need to create an array. So that player 1 and then player 2. This array we need to for each of the team. These are the players, so we need to pass all these. Now here write game dot players and then log this into console. Players 1, players 2. Now let's see the result. Reload. Player, so player 1, player players 1. Okay, let's give the S players 1, players 2. Here also players 2, players. Now let's see the result. Here it is exactly the 2 arrays what we have written here. It added. This is the first arrow, this is the player 1's arrow, and then this is the player 2's arrow. All these. Now we have separated these 2 arrays, and then now the second step. That is, we should create one variable like goalkeeper. So for that, write const. Here we need that the first player is the GK and the remaining all are the field players in any of the players. So I'm giving here the players 1 array. We need that the first player of the player 1's array should be GK and then the remaining all should be field players. So we need here all players. For that, write this operator. and then write console.log gk field players. Now let's see the result. Reload field players, capital P. Now let's see. See here, the name newer is a GK, that is goalkeeper, and then rest of the team players are field players. And then now the third step, here in the third step, we need to create an array that giving all the both the team members. So the name should be all players, that is equal. We need both of the players of the arrays. So for that, write players 1 and then players 2. Now let's write console.log all players. Now let's see the result. See here we have all the 22 players. And then the fourth step, here in the fourth step, we need to create an array step. During the game by unfinished team 1, we use it to 3 substitute players. So create a new array. Okay, we need to create a new array and then we have to substitute 3 names. So write const players 1 final is the array name, and then we need to give here players 1 and then give these names. So this is the one. Now let's see the result. Write console.log players 1 final. Now let's see the result. See here we have added these 3 names along with the team 1 players. And then now here the fifth step. Here the fifth step is based on this games.odds object. Here we have team 1 x team 2. We need to do nested destructuring here. Here let's write that odds. Then for odds we need to create a nested destructuring, that is team 1 and then x and then team 2, that is equal game. Now here we have that step based on the game.odds object. Create one variable for each odd called team1 draw and team2. So here we need to write that, change the variable name for that, right? Draw that we want here. And then write here console.log team1 draw and then team2. So now let's see the result. Here we see that it displayed the all this team 1, that is 1.33, and the x that we have changed to draw, so that is 3.25, and then the team 2 6.5. And then now we did it. So now the sixth step, that is let's create our print goal function now. Const print goal, that is equal function, and here we write this that receives an arbitrary number of player names, not an array, and prints each of them to the console along with the number of goals that were scored in the total number of players' names passed in. Okay, now let's see print goals. Then again, here in this print goals, we need to use this data that is here test data for 6 use players. We need to use this data. Now let's place this here. And now here in this, I am giving these two names for suppose same names. And now let's pass the arguments here, players. Then in the block, write console.log. This is for length of the players what we are giving. That's length of the players dot length. And then now write goals were scored. Here we have given that 1, 2, 3, 4 name, that is 4 goals were secured. And then here 1, 2. So 2 goals were secured like this. Let's reload the. Then see here 4 goals were secured. And then the second one is 2 goals were secured. If now here I am adding one more. Adding here one more babies. Now let's see reload. 3 goals were secured. Here we need to use these 4 persons. So for that write print rules and then game dot score. Now let's write here console.log players. Reload. Then see here we have that one goal was secured, that is the array of 4. We don't need like this array, but here we have four goals. So we don't need like this array. So further write here the spread operator. Now let's reload. We have these 4 goals were secured. This is what we want here in this 6th step. And then the next step, that is 7th step. Now here in this step, we need to display all the players one by one to the console, based on which team will win based on the odds variables. The variables which we created on team 1 and team 2 which contain these odds. And remember that we need to do that without using the if or else statements or ternary operator. Now here we should use a logical operator for that. So let's write a condition, that is team 1 is less than team 2. Then console.log team 1 is more likely to win. Now here we need to be evaluated that when the operation is true, we need to evaluate it that. So for that I am using here and which continues the operation when the first value is true. The OR operator short circuits when the first value is true. So that's why we don't want here OR. So AND is the perfect. If this is true, we actually want to evaluation is to continue. Now let's see the result here. See here the team 1 is more likely to win. Now let's see that I'm changing here the one. This is 11.33. Now we need another statement for this. Now let's write here team 2. Team 1 is greater than team 2. Then write Team 2 is more likely to win. Let's reload. Now you see the team 2 is more likely to win. So here the team 1 value is greater for that. So now with this our challenge is completed. We will continue in the next lecture. Thank you.